Welcome to your personalized deep dive.
Ah, yes.
Today, we're diving into your sources on starting a YouTube channel.
Right?
And you've given us a lot to work with.
Yeah.
Including this video from Ali Abdaal called How to Start a YouTube Channel Beginner's Guide 2025. Did any of the material particularly stand out to you?
Well, I think it's great that you included that Abdal video.
Okay.
Because he's built a really successful channel.
Right.
And shares some very actionable advice in this one. I'm interested to see how his approach aligns with some of the broader strategies for content creation and audience engagement we see across other platforms.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right away, he lays out this 3-tiered framework for success.
Right.
Get going, get good, and get smart. And it really resonated with me because it highlights the importance of intentionality. You can just, dabble in YouTube as a hobby, or you can really commit to a consistent path of growth.
Yeah, and that choice really dictates how you approach so many aspects of YouTube, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For example, Abdal says that figuring out your niche isn't even that relevant until you've decided to get serious about the platform.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I'd always thought niche selection was something you had to nail down from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But maybe it's more about finding your footing and developing your style first.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that leads us to another core concept that Abdal emphasizes. Treating YouTube like a business.
Okay.
Even if you're not making money from it yet.
Right.
Have you ever thought about your channel in those terms?
It's funny, I always struggle with that idea.
Yeah.
I love the creative side of making videos, but the business aspect feels a bit intimidating.
Right.
I'm not sure what it even means to treat my YouTube channel as a product.
That's a really common feeling, especially for people who are drawn to YouTube for its creative potential.
Right.
But Abdal's point isn't about becoming a cutthroat entrepreneur.
Okay.
It's about being intentional and strategic. He argues that every successful business, whether it's selling widgets or making videos, is about providing value to others.
Okay.
What do you think your potential viewers would find valuable based on the topics you're interested in?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about listeners' interest.
Okay.
So I imagine my viewers would be looking for type of content related to listeners' interest. Abdal talks about concept selection being crucial and that you have to do your research and see what's working for other creators in your space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He uses the example of a video titled How to Raise Your Self-Worth.
Okay.
And how he analyzes similar videos to see whether self-worth or confidence resonates more with viewers. He actually suggests typing potential titles into the YouTube search bar.
Oh.
And seeing what auto suggests.
Interesting.
It's such a simple but effective way to tap into what people are already searching for.
Okay.
Have you tried that for any of your video ideas?
I haven't.
Okay.
But I can see how that would be really helpful in refining my titles and making sure they align with what people are actually searching for.
Exactly.
Abdal also stresses that once you have a solid concept, it's important to deliver the information effectively.
Yeah.
He believes in the power of 3 when it comes to presenting key points. It keeps things concise and helps viewers remember the information.
It's fascinating how that rule of 3 pops up in so many aspects of communication, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just seems to be the sweet spot. Holding people's attention and conveying information in a memorable way.
Totally.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that 80-20 rule he brings up, where he says that 80% of a video's success is determined by the title, thumbnail, and hook. He puts a lot of emphasis on grabbing attention from the start.
What's interesting about that is it speaks to the nature of online content consumption, right? People are scrolling through endless feeds.
Right.
So you have to really make your content stand out.
Yeah.
And that's where this idea of a hook becomes so important.
Okay.
Abdal actually argues that for educational videos, simply stating your title can be an effective hook.
So for your video on self-worth, the hook could be as simple as, in this video, I'm going to share my top 3 tips for raising your self-worth.
Exactly.
It seems a bit counterintuitive.
It does.
But his point is that people are already interested in the topic if they've clicked on the video.
They're there.
Yeah.
The hook simply serves as a clear roadmap of what they can expect.
Okay.
He also talks about the importance of a strong intro, which he believes should answer 2 key questions. Who are you and why should the audience care? What are your thoughts on how to establish credibility in that intro? Especially if you're just starting out and don't have a huge following yet.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I know I sometimes struggle with feeling like I need to be some kind of expert to be taken seriously. But Abdal suggests highlighting your relevant experiences,
Right.
even if they seem small.
Yeah.
So if I were making a video about listeners' interest, I might mention my experience with listeners' relevant experience. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking,
Right.
but it shows that I have some connection to the topic. What do you think?
I think that's a fantastic approach.
Okay.
It's about finding that balance between being authentic to yourself and showcasing your expertise,
Right.
even if it's still in development.
And once you've got that intro down, Abdal moves on to the HIVE framework for structuring the rest of the video.
Okay.
H is for the hook, which we already discussed.
Right.
I is for the intro.
Okay.
Then V is for value, where you deliver those 3 key points. And finally, E is for end screen, where you tell viewers what to do next.
Right.
Have you found that this kind of structured approach is helpful in your own content creation?
I think structure is essential.
Okay.
Whether it's Abdal's HIVE framework
Right.
or something else that works for you.
Yeah.
It just makes the whole process so much more efficient, both in terms of planning and editing.
Okay.
And speaking of editing,
Right.
Abdal is a huge advocate for outsourcing that part of the process.
Yeah, he's pretty adamant about that.
Yeah.
Even if you're on a tight budget.
He brings this up a few times throughout the video.
Right.
So it's clearly something he feels strongly about.
Yeah, he actually goes into quite a bit of detail about how to find and hire an editor. And he even shares some price benchmarks for different levels of editing quality.
Right.
He suggests that $100 to $150 per video is a reasonable starting point. But he also emphasizes that you get what you pay for.
And his reasoning for outsourcing, even if you're not earning money yet, is really compelling.
Okay.
He argues that the time you save is better spent creating more content, which will ultimately help you grow your channel faster.
Okay.
It's about playing the long game.
It makes you wonder, though. Does focusing so much on editing take away from the authenticity of creating?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
It's true that there's a certain rawness and immediacy that can be lost when you bring in an editor.
Right.
But Abdal's point is that outsourcing allows you to focus on your strengths.
Okay.
Which, in his case, and perhaps yours too, might be coming up with great concepts and delivering them in an engaging way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
He also talks about leaning into your unfair advantages.
Right.
Basically, those unique strengths and experiences that set you apart from other creators. He even suggests asking your friends and family what they see as your strongest qualities, which I thought was a cool idea.
Yeah.
It can be hard to objectively assess ourselves sometimes.
It can be really enlightening to get that outside perspective. And once you've identified those advantages, Abdal argues that it's all about leveraging them to create content that no one else can make.
Okay.
I'm curious, what do you think some of your unfair advantages might be when it comes to creating a YouTube channel?
Well, I've always been good at listener strength.
Okay.
People tell me I'm also a good listener strength, so maybe I could combine those skills to create something unique.
Yeah.
Abdal also emphasizes that you don't have to be a guru to be successful on YouTube.
Yeah.
In fact, he prefers the term guide because it implies that you're on a journey of learning alongside your audience.
It's a subtle but important distinction.
Yeah.
The guide approach feels more authentic and relatable, doesn't it?
Right.
It's about sharing your experience and what you've learned, rather than pretending to have all the answers.
Okay.
And that leads to another interesting point that Abdal makes.
Yeah.
He initially tried to imitate the style of another popular YouTuber, Peter McKinnon.
Right.
But ultimately found his own voice by embracing his unique personality and quirks.
That's cool.
Have you ever felt that pressure to emulate other creators you admire?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when you're first starting out.
Right.
It's easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to others and trying to replicate what's already working.
Yeah.
But Abdal's story is a good reminder that authenticity is ultimately what resonates with viewers.
Right.
They can spot a phony a mile away.
Yeah.
Speaking of authenticity, did you notice how Abdal brings this incredible sense of energy and intentionality to his videos?
Right.
He even shares this mantra that he reads before filming.
Okay.
And it's really powerful.
I love that mantra.
Yeah.
Would you mind reminding us what it is?
Of course.
Okay.
He says, I don't care about the performance of this video. My only goal in making it is to share a message that I think is worth sharing for whoever wants to hear it.
Okay.
I intend to integrate my mind, heart, and soul into this and to share this message in a way that feels authentic and natural.
I think that speaks volumes about his commitment to the process.
Yeah.
Rather than getting caught up in the metrics.
Right.
It's about connecting with that one person who really needs to hear your message.
Oh, okay.
Which can be easy to forget
Yeah.
when you're chasing views and subscribers.
Exactly. He goes on to say, I'm in service to that person.
Right.
Not to my own ego, not to the retention stats, not to the algorithm.
It's a powerful reminder to stay grounded in your purpose.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of creators struggle with the idea of video length.
Right.
Do you think there's an ideal length for YouTube videos? Or does it depend entirely on the content and the audience?
That's a question that comes up all the time.
It does.
Adal suggests that for most educational content, sticking to 8 to 12 minutes is a good rule of thumb.
Right.
It's a length that seems to hold people's attention without feeling overwhelming.
He does make an exception.
Yeah.
For what he calls hyper long form.
Okay.
Which he defines as videos over 2 hours long.
Wow.
He even mentions a friend of his, Simon Squibb.
Right.
Who created a 2.5-hour video.
Wow.
Packed with business knowledge.
Okay.
And it actually went viral.
It's a bold move for sure.
Yeah.
It makes me think that video length is almost a strategic choice in itself, isn't it?
Right.
It can depend on your goals for the video and your confidence in being able to hold a viewer's attention for an extended period.
He also shares some really fascinating insights about the YouTube algorithm.
Okay.
And how a lot of creators misunderstand its role. Remember when he talks about attending those exclusive events?
Yeah.
And even having dinner with the engineers who designed the algorithm?
That's pretty unique level of access.
Yeah.
What did he glean from those interactions?
So they basically told him that the algorithm is the audience.
Interesting.
Instead of trying to game the system, you need to focus on creating content that people actually want to watch.
It's such a simple yet profound statement.
It is.
He even encourages creators to replace the word algorithm with audience in their vocabulary. Instead of asking, how do I please the algorithm?
Right.
You ask, how do I engage my audience? Or what does my audience want to see?
Exactly.
Right.
It really shifts your perspective.
Yeah.
And puts the focus back on creating valuable content.
Okay.
He stresses that content is king. And that the quality and relevance of your videos will ultimately determine your success.
Right.
He even suggests regularly asking your audience what they want to see more of.
It's about fostering that two-way communication.
It is.
Rather than treating your viewers as passive consumers.
Yeah.
And that ties back into the idea of treating your channel like a business, doesn't it?
It does.
You're constantly seeking feedback.
Right.
And finding ways to provide more value to your audience.
Absolutely.
And he's not afraid to talk about monetization either.
Yep.
He acknowledges that it's a legitimate goal for many YouTubers.
Right.
But he emphasizes that it should never come at the expense of your audience's trust.
He believes in earning monetization through creating valuable content that naturally leads to opportunities, like sponsorships or selling your own products or services.
He also stresses the importance of being transparent with your audience about any sponsored content or affiliate links.
Transparency is key.
Right.
It builds trust and shows your audience that you're not trying to pull a fast one on them.
He encourages creators to think long-term and focus on building a sustainable business rather than chasing quick wins or shortcuts.
Yeah, it seems like he's really passionate about helping creators build something that lasts.
And that brings us back to his core message of intentionality, doesn't it?
It does.
It's about knowing your why, defining your goals, and then putting in the work to build something meaningful.
Right.
It's not always easy.
True.
But it's incredibly rewarding.
And speaking of putting in the work.
Yes.
Adal is a firm believer in outsourcing certain tasks.
Okay.
Especially video editing.
Right.
He actually provides a detailed breakdown of how to find and hire a good editor.
I found that section incredibly practical.
Yeah.
He walks you through creating a job description, giving potential editors a trial task, and even recommends specific platforms for finding freelance talent.
He emphasizes that even if you're on a tight budget, the time you save by outsourcing is worth the investment.
I like how he breaks down the cost of editing based on quality. He suggests that around $100 to $150 per video will get you a decent editor.
Right.
And that you shouldn't be afraid to invest more as your channel grows.
Mm-hmm.
But he also reminds us that finding a good editor takes time and effort.
It does.
It's not a quick fix.
He even shares his personal experience with outsourcing.
Oh, really?
He admits that he initially tried to go the cheap route.
Okay.
And was disappointed with the results.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes you have to invest in quality.
Right.
If you want to create a professional product.
And that brings us back to his point about treating YouTube like a business.
It does.
It's about making strategic decisions that support your long-term goals.
Exactly.
It's about seeing the bigger picture and understanding that every choice you make, from concept selection to editing, contributes to the overall success of your channel.
And speaking of concept selection,
right,
Abdal believes that choosing the right topic is crucial for a video's performance.
Yeah.
He believes there's a limit to how many views you can expect based on the inherent interest in the subject matter.
So, like, some topics are just naturally more popular than others.
Exactly.
Okay.
He uses the example of comparing a video about self-worth to a video about passive income ideas for teenagers.
Okay.
Guess which one he thinks would get more views?
I think it's safe to say that teenagers looking for ways to make money will probably draw a larger crowd.
Probably.
It highlights the importance of understanding your target audience, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Creating content that caters to their needs and desires is key.
He also stresses the importance of being concise.
Okay.
And delivering information in a way that's easy to digest.
Which brings us back to his point about focusing on 3 key points per video.
It does.
It's about finding that sweet spot between providing value and respecting your viewers' time.
He actually admits that he used to cram as much information as possible into his videos.
Oh, really?
But he eventually realized that less is often more.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's something I'm definitely going to keep in mind as I plan my own videos.
Okay.
I can already see how that would make the editing process smoother, too.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the advice we've unpacked boils down to finding that balance between strategy and authenticity. You need to be smart about how you approach YouTube.
Right.
But you also need to let your personality shine through.
It's like walking a tightrope.
Right.
Too much focus on strategy and you risk coming across as robotic or inauthentic.
Yeah.
But too much emphasis on just being yourself, and you might miss out on opportunities to grow your channel effectively.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what Abdal says about finding your voice on camera.
Right.
He emphasizes that it takes practice and that you shouldn't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
He even admits that he was pretty awkward in his early videos.
It's encouraging to hear that even someone as successful as Ali Abdal had to go through that awkward phase. It makes it feel more attainable for those of us who are just starting out.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it speaks to his point about not comparing yourself to others.
Right.
Everyone's journey is different, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach to YouTube success.
It's about finding what works for you and what feels authentic to your brand and your message.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the numbers game and start comparing your channel to others.
Right.
But ultimately, it's about creating content that you're proud of and that connects with your audience.
And speaking of connecting with your audience, Abdal emphasizes the importance of the end screen in a video.
Okay.
He even calls it a sales pitch,
right?
But not in a sleazy way.
Okay.
He sees it as an opportunity to guide the viewer's journey and keep them engaged with your content.
It makes a lot of sense when you think about it that way.
It does.
It's not about begging for likes and subscribers.
Right.
It's about offering value and directing viewers to other content they might enjoy.
Yeah, he's very specific about avoiding rambling outros too.
Okay.
He says that as soon as a viewer senses the video is about to end, their attention starts to wander.
So a concise and compelling end screen is key.
Yeah.
It's your last chance to leave a lasting impression.
Exactly.
And Abdal suggests using it to promote other videos on your channel, or even to ask a question that encourages viewers to engage in the comments.
Right.
I'm definitely guilty of rambling in my outros.
Okay.
So that's something I'm going to work on.
Yeah, it seems like Abdal has a very intentional approach to every aspect of his videos, from the title and thumbnail to the hook and the end screen.
Yeah.
It's all about creating a cohesive experience for the viewer.
And it's about respecting their time and attention.
It is.
Which is a valuable commodity in today's digital landscape.
Right.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into your sources on starting a YouTube channel, What are some of the key takeaways that stand out to you?
For me, it's that beautiful blend of strategy and authenticity that we keep coming back to.
Yeah.
It's about being intentional about your goals, your
Mm-hmm.
content, and your audience,
Okay.
but also letting your personality and your passion shine through.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Abdal's advice is packed with actionable strategies, but he never loses sight of the human element of YouTube.
Right.
It's about building connections
Yeah.
and sharing something you care about with the world.
And I think the most important takeaway of all is to just get started.
Yeah.
Don't let fear or perfectionism hold you back.
Right.
Experiment, have fun, and embrace the journey.
Wise words
Yeah.
as you embark on your own YouTube journey. Remember that it's not about becoming the next Ali Abdal.
Right.
It's about finding your own unique voice and sharing your story with the world.
And remember, we're here to support you along the way.
Okay.
Feel free to reach out to us if you ever need a helping hand or a sounding board.
Until then, happy creating it later.